Hey guys, thanks for coming back to the channel. Hey, today we're going to build a table saw jig, and it's going to kind of be like a multi-use table saw jig. First, we're going to build one of those tall faced jigs that ride on the table saw fence, for like cutting tenons or cutting the angle on a door or something. And then I'm going to adapt it so I can fit an L fence in there so we can do some templating for some other projects. So let's go see how we did it. All right, first I'm going to start by cutting three pieces, 8 inches, 8 inches, and 6 inches. It seems pretty simple, but you see throughout the video, I started changing up the cuts anyway. Here I'm squaring up the edges and cutting everything down to the final length of 23 inches. Here's where I change one of the 8 inchers into a 7 1/4 incher. This setup right here, you can see the sides of the L fence need to match the height of the tall fence. If I had a plan, I could have cut the 1 inch off when I was cutting everything at the saw anyway, right? All right, here comes mistake number 1. I used the old playing card spacer trick that I used in other videos to make space under the jig so that it wouldn't ride on the table saw top. Did I need to do that? Nope. I should have left it to ride on a table saw top like I did the other side. Should I have left it alone? Yeah, but of course I didn't. No measuring here. Mark a line and cut it. This is woodworking confidence, maybe a little reckless. I don't know. I'm probably just hoping that what I think I'm doing is the right thing. Kind of hard to tell. Now I'm making the fence saddle thingy. Yeah, that's a technical term. Again, no measuring. Mark it, cut it. All right, look. If all this drastically goes wrong, I'm going to blame it on the measuring. Here's the mock-up of the saddle thingy. And then a little movie magic. Boom. Everything's cut to size. All right here, montage time. Pilot holes, countersink, glue, screws. If this moved any faster, we need a flux capacitor. Now I'm cutting off a 1 inch stop for the tall fence jig. This gives work pieces something to square up against. And here's mistake number 2. I super glued the stop. It was supposed to be sacrificial and replaceable after being cut from whatever uses, whatever projects I was using. So yeah, future me is going to hate this. Now that the stop is installed, all the other pieces I cut are wrong, which means back to the saw. Marking where the clamps go on both jigs here. Here I'm using a miter gauge on a fence to cut the slots where the clamps will sit. With a little bit of planning, this could have been done earlier, where everything was still in pieces. But, planning is kind of a hobby of mine. I don't do it too often, and it just takes up so much time. I don't know what this hand jive thing is supposed to be. I think I imagined some incredible voiceover moment where my hands explained everything. Instead, I just look like I'm trying to summon some jig spirit or something. Basically, I mocked up the jig with the thickest stock I was going to probably ever use and use it to mark the slots for the clamps. Over to the table saw again, cutting slots. At least I did it while I was still in pieces. Feels like I am currently on the learning curve. Mistake number 3, the knob slots should have been cut earlier. Instead of cutting them with the table saw, I'm over here, I'm drilling, I'm jigsawing, it's a disaster. Here's what we call a learning experience, kids. Now I need to make the hardwood knobs. I never really did this before, which is comforting to say mid-project and on a finished video. Cutting knobs with a hole saw and a drill, smoke, check. Burn marks, check. Burnt wood smell, check. I guess when it stops smoking, you're done, right? Using scrap wood and clamps here to make a little stand so I can drill pilot holes, countersink, glue, screw everything together again. Another fast forward jump cut montage. Mark it, cut it, basically my strongest skill. Notice there's no measuring because, numbers. I have to add 2 triangles here on the face of the L fence to try to keep it square. I mean, seriously, woodworking, where we use triangles to keep things square. My geometry teacher, she'd be proud. Tenon practice using the tall fence jig right here. This worked out great. This was new for me. I never did it before, but it worked out pretty okay. Which means, we're learning together on the finished YouTube video. Good thing nothing went horribly wrong. And finally, using the L fence to clean up one edge on the pallet wood. This thing I'm going to show you right here isn't really a mistake. It's just kind of more like a measurement coincidence. Now, here's our tall jig. Here's our L fence, right? And I need to run this entire setup so that the blade is just in line with the face of this side of the L fence. And then, of course, I would have my wood, I would have my guide, I'd run it through the table saw. This part right here is 4 inches. It was 6 inches, but I cut it down from 6 inches to 4 inches just with the idea of saving weight, because this melamine gets way heavy. So watch this. The jig shifts a little bit, and I want you to look right here. This jig gets stuck in the channel, and I'm about yay small away from where I need to be on the blade. So I can fix it. I can kind of shimmy it up and get it there. But look, we're only about that much. Like we're just back onto the table saw top. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off about 3/4 of an inch from the fence over here, making the whole jig have to slide closer to do the same job, which then puts me perfectly flat on a tabletop. So let's go and fix that. All right, guys, so check it out. Our jig is now lined up with our blade right here. And look right here. Our jig is now well on the table saw top. You see last time it was getting caught right here because of the thickness here that had to be lined up with the blade. Now, it'll still get caught because the weight of the jig will rock it down, but when I run it up to where it's supposed to be next to the blade, we're on full table saw top. So it's kind of a design flaw on my behalf somehow. All right, so this was a board we cut earlier just for practice. Here's another one of the same board. I don't know if you can see it, but this side is fairly crooked. So we're going to take, first, let's go ahead and set up our saw here. Okay, not a perfect experiment, but here's the edges that we didn't cut. Notice the boards are a little wonky, but clearly each one of those edges is not straight. The ones that we ran through the L fence, look at that. I mean, aside from the boards being warped, right? It's just scrap wood, but look, that's awesome, guys. That worked out just right. That's nice. That's going to help us a lot with this pallet wood. Hey guys, thanks for watching all the way to the end. So that's it. That's it, right? The tall fence jig and the L fence jig. That's it. A couple of mistakes thrown in there for free, so you learn from those. That's it. So listen, I hope this inspired you to go build your own jigs, maybe come up with some new projects, that sort of thing. Maybe learn from some of the mistakes I did, do a little planning, God forbid, right? And do me a favor. If you like the build, if you got some good ideas or something you want to see me build, you like the jig idea, or you just want to tell me what I did wrong, go ahead and drop something down in the comments over there so we can kind of talk a little bit. But as always, guys, I appreciate you watching these videos. I appreciate waiting all the way to the end. And if you like it, why don't you stick around? Come back and visit again. See what we got going on. There'll be more projects, more jigs, more furniture. Statistically speaking, more mistakes. You know what I mean? But other than that, go to all your friends and family. Let everybody know about our channel over here. And let's keep this YouTube channel rolling. Out. Thanks, guys.